Beep, 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 bong.
Hi, my name is Maggie Carberry. I am a mixed media artist. We're here in my studio in Jamaica Plain, Mass. I started with printmaking at Camberwell College in London when I gave up my teaching job to go to grad school, and I really wanted it to be an experience, and so I found a school overseas, and London seemed to be kind of the center of the printmaking world at that time. I love the way the printmaking process transforms a photo. So I always start with photography. My subject matter is usually architecture related. I love the way the repetition in buildings can kind of, I related a lot to the idea of the mandala, where it kind of gives you a space to sort of lose focus and let your mind drift away. The repetition in the windows and the shapes is something that does that for me. It gives me kind of like a private space when I look at the paintings. So I start with photos. I do a lot in the computer to sort of rebuild the buildings and make them my own. And then most of my work, I found a process called the gum transfer process that I love, because you only get one print. If you start with a life-size photocopy, cover it with gum arabic, and wet it, it works like a lithograph, and you can roll it up with oil-based ink and run it through an etching press, and it transfers the image, and it sort of makes a bad print, which is why I think a lot of people don't use it. And it's not a great process to get consistent additions, but for me it works great, because I like to work large. I really only want one, but it's the process that I'm interested in. So I start with my prints, and then often I will even take the print and slice it up, and when I'm building my canvases, kind of rearrange the images, and again I'm kind of rebuilding and making my own buildings out of the photos. This is an example of a print. I usually print on rice paper because I like, when I mount it on the wood, it actually starts to sort of pick up some of the tones of the wood. So here's an example of a print that I would make several of these, slice them up, and then it might end up in a cityscape, something like this. I've been playing a lot with levels of the surface. My A is for Atlas over here is an example of one of the paintings that's going to be in the exhibit coming up, Echoes of Pop, in the new millennium. I was invited to do a show last year at the Brick Bottom Gallery in Somerville, and it was being curated by someone who really wanted the show to have something about the child's eye view. And my exhibit was actually in a separate room, so it didn't have to exactly fall in there. But I had always thought about doing a book, and I decided the way that I would connect with the child's eye view is that I would do an alphabet book. And so I came up with 26 paintings, each somehow related to a letter in the alphabet. Some of them are more of a stretch than others, but this one is an example. It's called A is for Atlas. And Atlas is the male sculptural columns that hold up parts of buildings. He's actually from the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.